Okay. What's up, everybody? Good morning. Welcome to a Saturday edition of Morning Scone presented by Brock, the Baton Rouge Peak Lake, Hoodco Roofing, hoodcoroofing.com, restoredmotions.com, and prochargeev.com. All right, y'all. LSU's got its new defensive coordinator. There's this old adage, Blake Baker. Let me not bury that lead. Blake Baker is LSU's new defensive coordinator, as many of you probably know by now. There's this old adage: if you want to bury bad news, you release it after 3 o'clock on a Friday. Because you get it, most people cut out, early on Friday, and they start their weekend, and they're not locked into the news cycle and all that stuff. So if you want to bury something, you release it after 3 o'clock on a Friday. LSU waited until like 9 o'clock on Friday night to release the news that they had hired Blake Baker, which I would perceive to be good news. It was a little surprising, man, because I was fully expecting we were going to get that news before my show on Friday. If you were here yesterday for Morning Scone, I told everybody that LSU had, and they did. They made their push to Baker on Thursday night. On Thursday night, I was told Eli Drinkwitz went over to Baker's house. Was meeting with Blake Baker to try to convince him to stay, which I shared with you, and that Baker said he wanted the night to sleep on it. So, yeah, soon, man. Yeah, you wake up, it's like, all right, what's your answer? And I guess he gave me the answer, but then the news didn't leak. I mean, I was told it was done, but then you're just waiting on official word, which ultimately came. So Blake Baker is the LSU defensive coordinator. It was really the first name that I had heard. I was at lunch with a client on Wednesday when the firings happened, or shortly after the firings happened, and put out phone calls to get names of interest. And the first one I heard was Baker, and then I meant all the other ones that I mentioned. But in any event, I know Scott Woodward responded to Blake Baker. There's this video of Scott and Blake Baker talking on the field at Mizzou when LSU played there earlier this year. Anyway, LSU's got a new defensive coordinator. Blake Baker, during his time at Mizzou, he inherited a terrible defense. So it was kind of like LSU's this year. It was 100th and everything. And then they improved to like 50th and like 25th. So they kept getting better while they were there. He's a young guy. I think Blake's 40. I think he's 41. I think he's my age. I think we're the same age. I think I explained this before as well. A lot of people wondering why Blake Baker would leave Missouri. What I was told, there was 3 primary reasons. Number one, his wife's from Mandeville. She went to Fontainebleau. She played soccer at LSU. She was an all-SEC soccer player at LSU. Hang on, I'll tell you her name. I'm blanking on it. Rosalind Jones was her name when she was at LSU. Rosalind Baker now, but his wife's family's nearby. The money was somewhat even. LSU, as I was told, Mizzou was paying him maybe 2.2, and LSU's paying him 2.5. So the money's. I mean, you don't make a decision like that based on $200,000. So or 300. I mean, it's the money was comparable. It wasn't like it was this overwhelming change in pay or anything like that. But it was the ability to win a national championship, which you could do at LSU. You can't do at Mizzou. I actually tweeted that last night, and Missouri fans got all up in their feels about it. And I was like, hey, they're like, objectively, Missouri is better than LSU. I'm like, objectively, LSU beat Missouri in Columbia. Y'all are throwing a ticker tape parade because you want a Cotton Bowl. LSU fired its entire staff after a 10-win season. I mean, they're not the same. So Missouri's literally never won a national championship. So that's why. And then also, from Baker's perspective, if he wants to be a head coach, this will fast track you. You come to LSU, you fix an awful defense at a high-profile place like LSU, and you'll be on everybody's short list to be a head coach. I mean, Dave Aranda parlayed it into a head coaching job at a Power 5. Joe Brady parlayed into an NFL coordinator job. He wasn't even a coordinator here. So, in any event, LSU's got its new DC. I'm sure a lot of y'all are asking about Bo Davis as well. What I was told yesterday morning is that was fading. And I don't know if this is public. I don't know if anybody's out there. But LSU offered Bo Davis. The offer LSU gave to Bo Davis would have made him the highest paid position coach in the country. So I think there's some feeling like, man, did Bo Davis just play LSU? I don't think that's that at all. I think, as I've mentioned for quite a while, you had people internally who he has a relationship with. Bo played at LSU. He's got ties to LSU, obviously coached here under Nick from 02 to 04, and then under Les for the first year in 05. So he was 02 to 05. And they do that song and dance every year, it feels like, with Bo. But I think the big hang up with Bo Davis wasn't ultimately the money. I think it was I think this played a role. I don't know how big of a role, but I'll say it. I think part of the hang up with Bo Davis was, as it was mentioned to me by several people, was his son is a defensive lineman at Southeastern. And I think he was trying to get the opportunity to coach his son. So meaning, if he came, could his son transfer into LSU? It kind of feels like, and again, I don't know how those conversations went beyond that. I don't know, but it kind of feels to me like, man, remember when LSU took Leonard Fournette? Sometimes you take a player to get another player or something like that. But in this instance, I don't know if it was something they were willing to do. I don't know where those conversations went, but I know that was part of the conversations there as well. So unless there's something changes, it sure sounds like Bo Davis is staying at Texas, despite LSU offering to make him the highest paid defensive line coach in the country. And y'all know the numbers. I told him to you. He's making $1 million at Texas, and he wanted $1.5 million to come to LSU. So, anyway, what else? I've been told the Corey Raymond thing has been done for a long time, but I tell you that all the time. Like, it's never done until it's done. Like ink dry on paper, press release out there, the graphic, press conference, all that stuff. But I don't know what they're waiting. Maybe they were waiting on the Baker stuff or Corey. Whatever. I don't know. But one thing I was told is that whoever the new DC was might potentially have veto power on some of the staff stuff. I don't know why Blake Baker would veto Corey. I mean, they were on staff together at LSU, so it certainly knows the value. But anyway, okay, we'll say some good mornings. I've talked enough. Y'all smash the like button if you would. Please subscribe up to the channel. As always, shout out to Brock and Hudco. You need North Beach, go to Brock. You need a roof, give us a shout at HudcoRoofing.com. Let's see, Zachary Moe, is it safe to say boosters are more willing to pay than originally thought? No, Zachary, and I think there's some confusion on that. And we have talked about how LSU has struggled at times to raise money and how allocation of funds can be an issue. But yet, this might be a better way to say it. Let me try it this way. There's no doubt, like LSU doesn't have the deep roster of boosters, places like Texas and stuff like that. And LSU has shaken the trees a bunch lately. What I will tell you is that there were talks during the season about firing Matt House when things were very bad, and that at the time they weren't willing to pay the buyout. And I'm telling you, up until Monday of that game, Matt House was confident he was returning. He was told he was returning. They were going to make staff changes, which I told you for a long time, and they were going to retain House. I think he built up some goodwill from the year before, and they were saying, look, let's see if we can get him some staff help. And then all the stuff happened. The bowl game was horrendous. You started to see all the, people saw the video we talked about Mekhi Wingo. You saw all the players reacting, and influential people started to ask, is it really that bad? And it's interesting what can make people act or react, if that makes sense. So it's not to say that LSU couldn't raise $3 million or 3.7 or 5.7 to buy out a staff. It's not to say they can't. It's, are your boosters motivated to do that? And I'm telling you, Monday got to that point. Um, talk about Bo Davis. It's not that LSU can't raise $1.5 million to pay Bo Davis. It's what precedent is that setting if you're paying your defensive line coach $1.5 million? Are you willing to do that if it means every other assistant's going to come at you with their hand out? So I think those are the important conversations that had to have. And I just saw, I know I'm at the top, but I just saw a comment that popped up, and it was Cortland, who said, I got the impression Kelly wanted to make changes for a while. Was it all money thing, not a Kelly's choice thing? Cortland, I'm telling you, man, they were going to make the move, or Kelly inquired about the move midseason. That got shot down midseason, and I'm telling you, man, as of Christmas, and when they left, because they left on the 26th, Matt House was staying. I'm like, think of it this way. Literally every person that you follow that covers this program, and I'm not talking about somebody who has a podcast. I mean, like the people who are on the beat every single day. Like, you know who those people are. Did anybody at all suggest that Matt House was going to be fired? You know the answer, because it was the answer. They were going to retain him. And Monday went very, very, very badly, and into Tuesday for Matt House, and then they fired him. So, along with the staff members, they were already going to let go. Okay. Earl Gorio, Zachary Moe. I threw $5 when they called me the other day. Brett the Grow, Joseph Bugs, Captain Eli. Good morning, Christian. Glad the deal got done bringing Blake Baker home. Saw some rumors about Kevin Peoples as a target for defensive line coach. Any fire to that smoke? Honestly, Christian, I was told that name yesterday with Peoples. I have no idea how valid it is. I have not followed. I'm telling you, like last night, my show ended. Eric and I went to dinner with some friends. I was literally at dinner last night when the news broke. My phone started buzzing. I was like, God. So I'm literally sitting there at dinner with our friends. I'm like, y'all, please excuse me for a second. Like, so beyond that, I've got nothing. I came home and went to bed. So, ATX, morning, Matt. What advice do you think today's Brian Kelly would give himself when he first joined the Tigers? I think he would have retained Blake Baker, Corey Raymond, and Greg McMahon for sure. He would not have brought Brian Poley in here, certainly not as his recruiting coordinator. Matt M. Good morning. A lot of Mizzou media guys last night calling this a lateral move. Is everyone up there really that delusional? Yes. But everybody, listen, every coach that leaves for a certain job does so for reasons unique to that situation. And I mean that in the most literal sense, like unique in the most literal sense. I mean, like Bo Davis wouldn't have considered anybody. He was at Texas making $1 million a year. They just played the college football playoff. I mean, this was his alma mater he came calling. Blake Baker had been here. His wife's from near here. I mean, there's unique there are situations unique. There are circumstances unique to every situation, if that makes sense. All right. Kelly Gross, Brian Budensky, good morning. Patrick Kason, Mark Bacon, Christian Myers, good morning, y'all. Rocky Killian, good morning. How close did it come to the deal not being done for Baker? Well, I mean, the fact that he wanted a night to sleep on it Thursday night tells you he was very torn. And you could look at what Blake Baker's put on Twitter. I mean, and you know what I do like about this situation? Eli Drinkwitz tweeted his congratulations and thanks to Blake Baker. Missouri players are congratulating Blake Baker. Like that's sign of really good culture over there, and that's impressive for Drinkwitz. So, and it also speaks to how much they care about Blake Baker and how hard of a decision it was. Wes Shin, Megan Hurst, Christian Colson, good morning. Do you see any players following Baker down south? Good question, Christian. I have no idea. Sam Bacon said Raymond's in Baton Rouge already. Yes, he's been here since since he was let go at Florida. Brandon Hoyt, word on OC, no. Stephen DeLatte, do you think Kelly acted quick in hiring defensive coordinator? I think this targeting Blake Baker and getting this done was as much Scott Woodward, Verge Osbury, etc., as it was Brian Kelly. I think sometimes the way we talk about things, there might be a misconception about how hiring staffs go. And some coaches want to be really hands-on, and some coaches, defer and they say, go get me a list of the best candidates and let's talk about it. Or go, so I think the reason the Baker thing happened so quickly, a big reason why the Baker thing happened so quickly is because you weren't, I'm telling you, man, you were not planning on firing Matt House. But with that being said, think about all the staff positions you have to hire now. You have an OC, but Dan Brock was also your tight ends coach. I've been told they want to hire a full-time special teams coordinator. And now with House, Jimmy Lindsey, and both defensive backs coaches, that's 7 spots. And how many people are going to fill those spots and in what roles? For example, like if the OC you hire can't coach tight ends, do you have to hire a tight ends coach as well? Well, then you have to hire 2 on the offensive side. Or if you elevate Joe Sloan and he continues coaching quarterbacks, then you hire a tight ends coach. The name I've been told in that scenario would be Slade Nagel from Tulane. So there's a situation where offensively you could have to hire 1 or 2, right? Then if you look at the defensive side, well, Bob Diaco came on field and coached special teams and outside linebackers when John Jancic moved inside. People keep saying the whole defensive staff was fired. They weren't. John Jancic and Bob Diaco were retained. So are those 2 going to remain on field? If so, in what role? You're going to hire a new defensive line coach, which means does John Jancic go back to coach outside linebackers, which is kind of his specialty? Or does he fill another role? Blake Baker is a linebackers coach. So Baker's going to be DC, he's going to coach linebackers. Do you hire a defensive line coach, keep John Jancic at outside linebackers? Then do you have Corey coach all of the secondary or just the corners, and then you hire a safety coach? You see what I mean? So there's a lot of how they're going to piece together the staff. How many assistants on each side of the ball are you going to divvy up special teams? Or are you going to be able to hire a full-time special teams coordinator? There's a lot of those questions that go into how you maneuver this. But what they had to figure out first was, okay, we're going to hire a DC. What position is that DC going to coach, right? If your DC was a safeties guy, maybe your DC comes in, coaches safeties, Corey coaches corners, and Jancic handles all the linebackers. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of different ways that could have gone down. So that's a long way of answering the question. I don't even know if I did. Oh, Blake Baker bring back Corey Raymond, Kyle DeVille. Yes. I mean, I don't know any more ways I could say this, and I've been saying it for weeks and weeks. Like going back to the time when Florida came here in November, like on the field before the game, Corey, I mean, of course he's got so many friends here. They were talking about him coming back. He and Napier never got along. They didn't see eye to eye. The firing was as much a mutual parting as you could possibly come up with. He wants to come back. He wanted to come back then. He's made it known. There's people internally that want him back. I mean, all the people that were here, they understand the value that he brings in getting players. And his family's still here. I mean, I would be really, really surprised if that didn't get done. Room 40, finally someone that will properly utilize Perkins. What they did to him was a travesty. Hey, look, I'll say this. I don't know how much this contributed to Perkins having a down season, but Harold wanted to move to off-ball linebacker. He wanted to try to be an everyday. He wanted to try to be Devin White, and that ain't what he does. And so when you spent all of spring and all of fall camp trying to play Perkins at off-ball linebacker, and it took one game to realize that ain't going to happen. I don't know how much that set him back. I really don't. But I agree with you. When you have a player that dynamic, you have to figure out a way to use him, which was impressive how they did it in 2022 because the same defensive coordinator. But the difference is obviously you had B.J. Ojulari, so you had to figure out a way to get B.J. Ojulari and Perkins on the field at the same time. Pat Huseman, good morning. Gonna have a couple of Bakers tonight. Very good. Very good. I like it. Terrell Dixon, Matt, do you consider Blake Baker to be an elite recruiter? I don't know. That's a question for the recruiting guys, and quite honestly, I don't think it matters. If you've got Frank, if you bring back Corey, Brad Davis is doing an awesome job. Like, you've got enough recruiters on this staff. Not everyone on your staff has to be a dynamic recruiter. You have to have some X and O guys, and a lot of times that extends to the your support staff, your analysts, etc. But you bring Corey back, you'll have enough guys on staff that'll get you players. I need Blake Baker to make sure you're not allowing 700 yards to Ole Miss. All right, please smash the like button. Look at that, we're pushing 1,000 viewers live. That's awesome. Please smash the like button. If you're new, subscribe to the channel, please. Facebook, like the page, share the post. Brought to you by Brock and Hudco. Survive623 said, been waiting on you, Scone. My apologies, y'all. My apologies, a little late. Joseph Baggert, Bradlin Anderson, good morning. Luke Landry, Randall Offrecht. Eric Tross, good morning. Shane Paul Ryan Alexander, Jacob Willis, Hunter Fournette, good morning. Jeremy Vince, Official Friday. Pab, good morning. My favorite breaking news guy, LOL. Dalton Barnett, good morning. Crawfish Etouffee, Brian Penton. Ray Langlois, good morning. Hollywood, Kyle DeVille. What's up, Matt? Good morning. God bless y'all. Awesome Heart by Brian Kelly. Alley Boy, Robert Potts. Morning, Matt. Considering your opinion about the finances available the other day and what has transpired, would you walk out the process of how Brian Kelly gets approval to do this? Does he need permission? Robert, I did talk about the money just a bit ago. I'm not sure if you heard it. And Brian Kelly is the one that goes and raises the money, right? Every different branch, I'll use the term loosely, has like their own fundraising silo. For example, the LSU Foundation, right, is a fundraising arm. The collective now is separate in fundraising. TAF, like Matt Borman, who runs TAF now, Matt, his objective every year is he has a fundraising target, right? He's got to raise X amount every year. And so what's happened, especially like with NIL and the collective, is in some respect, it feels like you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. Meaning if there is a finite pool of cash, like let's say hypothetically you have a booster that's willing to pay $1 million a year. Like that's his number, so $1 million a year, or her number, $1 million a year. And TAF wants their share of it, and LSU Foundation, or they want, they approach about a specific project. Hey, we're like for example, the new the training facility on the back of football ops that they're building. It's like a recovery facility. So like hyperbaric chambers and all that technology and everything. They can go specifically and say that, okay, well, if you've committed that amount of money and now the collective comes and says, can we have some? Well, I just gave $1 million. I had $1 million, I gave it to them. Or I gave $850 to them, I'll give $150 to you. And then if you come and say, hey, we're trying to raise money to fire staff, can you put up X? Well, can and will are different questions. Can you, will you are different questions. Are there people who can write checks? Sure. But as I've said for a while now, the last 2 years have been expensive. And LSU, for example, the LSU collective, there are about 24 people that fund that entire collective. There are 3 that give in the 7 figures. They have 3 people that give over 7 figures. But the entirety of the collective is funded by about 24 people. And so the point is, when you keep going to that same short list of people over and over and over again, at some point they're like, they tap out. And you were reaching that point. But it's always interesting what will get people to motivated to act, to move, right? Like, look at what's happened at Ole Miss. They see a moment, right? They just won 11 games. They're looking at their schedule next year. They got a coach they love. They see an opportunity. And so, you call me Larry said, winning. Yes, win. Kim Mulkey. Go win a natty. Guess what? We'll give you a new contract. Jay Johnson. Yes, absolutely. So I don't know. It's a long way of answering the question, but I'm telling you, the fundraising the last at the end of Joe Oliva's tenure, there were very prominent and very generous benefactors who were open about not giving again at all until Joe Oliva was gone. Like, they were not giving money until Joe Oliva was fired. I think sometimes we forget how toxic that was at the end with Joe, and how disliked Joe was. When Scott came, it was a rebirth of sorts. It was bringing Scott home. He was one of us, and he knew everybody. I mean, go have lunch at the Baton Rouge Country Club, and you'll understand. But they made a lot of moves in a very short amount of time, and but at some point you get to the point where it's like, okay, what is enough? Or I need to see progress. You have to give me a reason to want to spend more. And that's where you had people pumping the brakes this year. Which I'm telling you, what transpired Monday and Tuesday was a real fire starter for a lot of people over there to watch the bowl game go the way it did, and then everything that transpired after, which got important people asking questions about how bad the culture really was, and that's what happened. I hope that helps. I know all some of you are going to hear is, thought LSU was broke, which never said LSU was broke. They don't have the resources and the long list of boosters that a lot of places do. And you had a lot of people, a lot of boosters that weren't willing, but they got motivated this week. Anyway, okay. Let me see. We've been here for about half an hour now, and I've barely gotten into any of the questions. Let's see. I just jumped over to Facebook, and Wes Shin is asking about Kelly in Michigan. I don't know that we want to delve into that again. I mean, I don't know how many ways I can say it. Someone asked me on Morning Scone if I'd heard anything about Kelly and the Patriots. I haven't. What I have heard, and I have heard, is the Kelly Michigan stuff for 2 years. That if he was offered that job, he would take it. I still stand by that. I believe if Michigan offered him the job, he would take it. What I will continue to say, which was not included in the clip so many of you saw, but I'll continue to say it over and over again, is I have no idea whatsoever if Harbaugh's leaving, and if he does, I have no idea whatsoever at all if Michigan has any interest whatsoever in Brian Kelly. What I do know is the other side of that. So I would put that at like a 2% chance if Harbaugh leaves. I have no idea if Michigan would have any interest whatsoever in Brian Kelly, which I said 2 Saturdays ago, which got omitted from the clip all of you saw. But anyway, yeah, Cortland said, I've heard multiple people say Michigan has their guy if Harbaugh leaves and it's not Kelly. That wouldn't surprise me at all. I put like about a 2% chance, just so as not to speak in an absolute. But I think all but Saban, Kirby, Dabo, I mean, I think every other coach in the country would take the Michigan job if it was offered, except for maybe those 3. Anyway. Brambo, 1,000 viewers. Congrats, Scone. This is a big money episode. Brambo, we are over 1,000 concurrents. Please smash the like button if you haven't done so yet, and subscribe over to the channel. I don't think, Brambo, maybe you do. I don't know if y'all know how, like, the Google AdSense revenue works. I ain't retiring on, like, if you added a couple of zeros to that number, I'd be doing really well. But I'm not retiring on that number, man. But thank you to everybody for watching, sincerely. What you can do is you can go to Brock or you can call us at HUDCO. I've got the HUDCO link pinned. A lot of bad weather yesterday with the rain. If you got a roof issue, we'd love it if you give us a shout. You can click that HUDCO link and fill out form on the homepage. We'd love to help you out, commercial or residential. HUDCO Roofing, HUDCOroofing.com. Scooter Rushing, let's go get more canes and get that booster money flowing. Jerome Learson, is Todd Graveshack and Don Lemon donating to football? One of those 3 is among the $1 million boosters that I mentioned. The interesting thing about Todd too is, as I mentioned this before, it's complex because Todd's from Baton Rouge, started Canes here, but went to the University of Georgia. He's not an LSU alum, and also Todd has Canes locations all over the country. So if Canes was just doing NIL deals with LSU players, I think there's other markets going, why would we go there? That's an LSU business. All they're doing is taking the money and giving it to LSU. So, he's got a lot of what Todd donates can't be through traditional NIL with Canes, if that makes sense. He's got to spread it around. Cajun Country, good morning. Mojo, Bo supposedly has stated he's staying at Texas. He's making over $1 million, defensive line coach. LSU wasn't going to pay him that much. Not true, Mojo. I was told that last night from a very high-ranking LSU official that LSU is prepared to make Bo Davis the highest-paid position coach in the country. He's making $1 million at Texas. LSU, he was wanting $1.5 million. LSU was going to pay him. The real complicated factors were outside of just money. Money was a big one, but LSU was willing to pay it. But there was more. Let's see, Brambo, I'm preparing myself, to see a considerable decline in offensive production, but a marginal increase in offensive, that's probably defensive production in the run. Oh, offensive production in the run game. Caleb is RB1, Holly Durham can battle for RB2. Yeah, I'll be curious also to see if they do add a running back via the portal, but Caleb Jackson, Trey Holly, Caden Durham. Remember, Josh Williams said he's coming back for a 6th season as well. I know we haven't talked about Logan Diggs yet. That's really unfortunate, man. I think you all probably saw the video of him leaving the field at the bowl game and with a big brace on his left knee, and I think we can all assume what 3 letters that means. So, to have that kind of injury in a bowl game. Are you even ready to play next year? You know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't know what Logan's going to do. I know he entered the portal. Yeah, that's probably just to keep his options open. So to say, like, will you have an opportunity to go to another school? Do you? Because remember, once you're in the portal, you have to go in the portal by the portal deadline, which is 5 days after your bowl game. So LSU played on Monday. So today would be the deadline, right? Today at midnight would be the deadline for players to enter. So you put your name in there just to keep your options open. Probably gets feedback from the NFL to see what they're saying about him. But him going in the portal leaves his options open, if that makes sense. Do you try to return to LSU? Do you transfer if there's a place willing to help you go through your rehab and all? Do you go pro? I think any of that could still be on the table for Diggs, but he's got some rehab ahead of him, unfortunately. James Burris, what's going on? Cortland, shout out to Jacques Doucet for saving the defense. I talked to Jacques too, and he was like, I talked to him on the firings were Wednesday. I talked to Jacques Thursday morning, like early Thursday. It was like, or maybe it was Wednesday. I was like, no, it was Wednesday night. I was like, man, do you realize what role that video played? He's like, and Jacques was like, you've got to be kidding. That can't be real. And so I explained, and sure enough, man, you call around. And I won't tell you names, but I will tell you that in the last 60 hours, I've spoken to current staff members, former staff members, fired staff members, boosters, agents, administrators, board members. It mattered. It mattered. See, well, hang on. Larry just said, if it took a video for people to know what's going on, we're in trouble. I disagree, man. I disagree with that. Because there's a lot of different ways that coaches can run a program. And so some people have asked that, like, how did Brian Kelly not know? Matt House works with the linebackers, and he's the defensive coordinator. And Kelly primarily with the offensive side. And I will tell you that as the season went along, and the season was very bad, and this happened in bowl practice as well when we got to see it, Kelly spent most of his time when they weren't in team, when they went to individual, Kelly spent most of his time over with the defensive backs. For very obvious reasons. So I think it is possible. And also, are players willing to speak up? Sometimes we forget these are still 18, 19, 20-year-old kids in some instances that are trained to respect authority. And are they really going to go to the head coach to tattle on their DC? Right? Sometimes you never know what it takes to reveal some of those things. But that ball started rolling after the bowl game. I'm glad it did. Mark Allen said Austin Thomas back to LSU should be a huge get for LSU. Let him lead the NIL. Nobody's broken that yet, right? I mean, Austin Thomas is Ole Miss's football chief of staff. And, I have been hearing that about Austin's potential return to LSU for weeks now. I can't believe, I think we might have hinted at this yesterday. I can't believe that, football scoop or none of that stuff has gotten out there. By the way, that's another one. Austin, was at LSU when Brian Kelly was hired. Brian brought in Beth Rex, who's kind of his right hand, and Austin wasn't retained. Austin was at that bowl game, that Texas Bowl against Kansas State, and then a week later, he wasn't there. But I'll tell you, one of the things that really matters, and is going to matter to Austin or anybody who comes in, is knowing what you have in the bank for NIL, because Austin's job, really, if you're the football chief of staff or GM or however you're going to phrase it, and again, this is I'm not breaking news about Austin. I've just heard that for weeks. I can't believe it hasn't been out there more. But if it's Austin or whoever, and your job is going to be to come in and essentially be like a general manager, and your job is to build the roster, right? You have to know how much NIL money you have. Like, you have to know what the NIL culture is. So, I mean, there has to be some real transparency there. And it's interesting because you wonder, like, are you really willing to be transparent with someone who's on staff of one of your rivals? And what I find really interesting is how much transparency has started to happen in the NIL space among collectives, because collectives are, the people who run the collectives, they're kind of tired of it, man. Like, I mean, I'll give you two high-profile instances: Lance Hurd, Quinshon Judkins. I know some of y'all think Lance Hurd left to go be able to play. He didn't. He left because he wanted more money, way more money, and LSU was like, no. And so he went, and he's going to go somewhere and he's going to get it. Does he want to start? Does he want to play left tackle? Of course. Of course. That ain't why he left. Lance Hurd got money coming out of Neville, sat the bench, asked for more money for 2024, way more, and they flatly said no. And so he left. You know, you have a finite pool of funds, and you have to decide how you're going to allocate it. And someone said money over everything, right? Not for everybody. Not every player. It's one of the things we on AFR the other day. If you missed it, was Thursday at first segment of 5 o'clock hour Thursday. Would highly recommend you go listen to it if you missed it. But I went sort of deep into some NIL stuff. But one of the things we shared was an athletic article that where they allowed these kids at the Under Armour All-America game to speak anonymously, right? And they were asked the question: did you take the biggest NIL deal? Did the school you committed to offer you the biggest NIL deal? And of the dozen or so that answered anonymously, all but one said, no, I didn't take the biggest NIL deal. Some were even like, it wouldn't really matter. I'm worried about getting the NFL. And my coach is like, and that was an anonymous answer. You can say whatever you want. So it's not every kid, but for some kids it matters. Quinshon Judkins is another example. But all that to say, the collectives are at this point where, this is the analogy I would use, like they're all holding a gun at each other. They're all pointing guns at each other. And they all want to lower their guns, but nobody wants to be the first to do it. Like, everybody wants to put their guns out. Like, nobody wants to keep paying the amount they're paying to build rosters. And it's not to say NIL is bad. It's not to say that they don't want the kids to be able to make money. But at some point, you're going to start to see that market settle. And it's just a matter of like who's going to be willing to do it first, sort of thing. Anyway. American Patriot Ole Miss is going to be a force to be reckoned with this year. They picked up number 1 and number 2 edge rushers. I mean, I talked about Ole Miss a few weeks ago, and a lot of LSU fans didn't like it. But yeah, Ole Miss should be a playoff team, and look at their schedule. Look at their schedule, who they have returning, coming off an 11-win season. Yeah, they look. Ole Miss has to play. They get Georgia at home, and they have to go to LSU. That's kind of it. Look at that, over 1,100 views. This is almost like when LSU won the Natty. Heck yeah, man. Please smash the like button if you would. If you're new, please subscribe up. Appreciate y'all. Jimmy James, morning when top coordinators are making 1.9. What about Baker's resume calls for 2.5? It's a great question. Dave Aranda was making 2. Dave Aranda got bumped to 2.5, didn't he? When A&M came calling, yeah, Dave Aranda got bumped to 2.5, and that was in 2018, 2019. When LSU kept him away from A&M, they bumped him, and he got paid more than Venables was making at Clemson. Dave was making 2.5. So Dave was a young guy at the time, but he had some success as a defensive coordinator, and Blake Baker Yeah, it's the guy you wanted. You wanted to get him away from an SEC school. What was it going to cost? What was it cost that? Kyle DeVille asking about Diggs. Talked about that a bit ago. Chad Malazon. What's going on? Malazon? Great hire. Went from 113th in scoring defense to 25th. Team's averages 21 points against Mizzou this year. LSU will be playing Monday night with those numbers. It's true. Riley Ortego, Creole Club. What up? Appreciate y'all for being here with us. Where are we? Trivia Carter, what's up? Hollywood, is NIL money based on a per year deal or college career, like 3 or 4 years? So schools structure things differently. It's a good question. Some have like a lump sum paid out over 4 years in monthly or by semester installments. And then there's also different caveats among them. For example, one of the things that LSU has written in its NIL deals is if a player doesn't execute the deliverable, they have to pay back the money that they've been given. So, like, I'll tell you this one, like Lance Hurd. Lance Hurd has not executed his deliverable yet, and Lance Hurd has gotten 2/3 of the money that was committed to him when he signed out of Neville. And it is in the high tens of thousands of dollars. And I guess I probably could just share dollar amounts, but just suffice to say, it's a lot of money. And my guess is he don't have it anymore. Lance Hurd's deliverable is what is scheduled as like an autograph signing or something in late January. Well, he's in the portal, he's leaving. He hasn't executed his deliverable. Contractually, LSU could go recoup the money that they paid Lance Hurd. Now, the tricky part of that is, do you want to be the school that's going, you have the reputation that you're going after your players to recoup money? Probably not. But do you go after the collective of his new school to recoup that money? Maybe. Don't know. A&M, oddly, in their contracts, have that they own the NIL rights to their players for the duration of their college career. So, and there's some confusion and some ambiguity about what that means. So, for example, Jordan Gilbert. LSU just got Jordan Gilbert, who transferred in from A&M. Does that mean A&M continues to pay Jordan Gilbert even though he's not there anymore? Because if you're going to retain his NIL rights, and this is the amount you're paying to retain and that part of the contract is still executable, so is the money part. So, is A&M going to continue to pay Gilbert? Well, I'm explaining some of this stuff just so you understand, there's still a lot of unknown and ambiguity with all of the stuff, with the way you asked the question. All right. Mike Shanas said, I'll be at USC game in Vegas. Where will you be doing whiskey and wine? Undecided yet, but we're trying to get those plans locked in. Not sure if we'll be going with the LSU Alumni Association, if we're traveling on our own. We're trying to get all that stuff settled as soon as we can, because I know that's filling up. Hey, babe.
Hey. What are you trying to get settled?
Plans for Vegas for, huh? Oh, okay.
So I'm about to go when everybody's going that I know, because then it's like if you're working.
I'm doing a show.
Okay, I'm telling you. You want me to stop this backpack?
That's Erica.
I'm sure it's done.
Sure. I don't know if it's done. Might not be. Might be close. Yeah. Antoine White, your NIL investment strategy has to be sustainable. That's the tricky part. But I will tell you, another thing I'll share with y'all is, and I have no problem sharing these numbers, and I did share these on AFR, so some of you probably heard it. When LSU launched Bayou Traditions, if you go to the website, you can see how there is where you can give a monthly donation, $10, $20, something like that. LSU currently has 300 people that give either 10 or $20 a month. 300.
One more thing.
Well,
It was kinked at his waist and he had nothing. So just started. It was kinked right like at this his waist.
oh god.
So it says it had 229, but
Did it leak everywhere?
no, it just didn't go through. I don't know why it didn't beep. Had to be no flow because the bag's full, but it says 229.
Weird. Okay.
So
I'll listen for it.
Straighten the kink out, but he's
Okay.
got full feed now.
I'll listen for it. Okay.
I'll take over the
Trying to enter his feeding tube. Sorry. Okay. All right. Bye. What were we talking about? The NIL stuff. So LSU has 300 people that give between 10 or 20 bucks a month. Auburn has 3,000. Ole Miss has 5,000. That's the bigger difference. And so this is about sustainability. So I was surprised to hear this week that actually LSU and Ole Miss, their total, like their funds raised in NIL is comparable. It doesn't seem like it because of what you see Ole Miss doing in the portal, but that's how it comes to allocating funds. Like, how are you allocating your funds? Well, Ole Miss is not paying anything for high school recruits. They're paying all of their money in the portal, and it shows, right? But then again, that's also why someone like Quinshon Judkins would leave. When you know what other guys are getting to come in via the portal, and you've been there for 2 years, and you're doing great, and you feel like you can go get more somewhere else, you go. That's what he wants. But sustainability, the thing that sometimes you might not consider is, okay, well, you raise this money in NIL this year. Well, it's fine, but you got to do it again next year, and the next year, and the next year, and the next year. And the next year, the next year. Well, how do you do that sustainably? Well, going to the same 25 people, which I've told you, there are 25 people roughly funding LSU's collective. There are $3 million contributors and a lot of other high dollar, about 20 or so high dollar individuals that are not in that $1 million range. But if, let's say, if 5 of those say, I'm done, it's a big deal for LSU. It's a big deal if any of those people stop giving. So when you talk about sustainability, when you're Ole Miss and you've got 5,000 fans that are all giving 10, 20 bucks a month, well, now, and that's growing, right? Well, now you have something that is more sustainable because you have essentially what amounts to a subscription model, right? So I know that's a big push for LSU's collective, is how do we get that number up, that participation up. All right, Jesse, if Blake Baker develops Harold Perkins like we know the player he should be, House shouldn't be able to ever coach again. The level of players rare special. House did nothing right. Jesse, I'll remind you, Matt House was the defensive coordinator in 2022 and Harold Perkins was a freshman All-American. Does he get no credit for that? Larry, bring Tackett home. Tackett Curtis, of course, from Manny, who went to USC, is in the portal. That would be a big boost because I think it would definitely help to have another inside backer. I think we're all excited to see Whit Weeks next year. He clearly has just tremendous potential, upside, everything. After Whit, you should have Greg Penn back again next year. West Weeks is there, Christian Braithwaite. But if you could add another player with some veteran experience there at inside backer, at off-ball backer to give you some depth, I think that would be much, much needed. Antoine White, how quickly can a return be made? Like, I mean, I think LSU could be a playoff team next year. Now the schedule is brutal. I'm not saying they will be, but the schedule is brutal. You're replacing your OC, you're replacing your Heisman winning quarterback. But I'm not expecting LSU to be the number one offense in the country. But do I still think LSU with Nussmeier and all that talent are going to score 30 a game? Yeah, I do. So if your defense can improve by even 50%, which I think is certainly doable, you should be right back there. You should be I don't know if you're going to win the national championship, but could you be a playoff team next year? Sure you can. Can you be in the top 12? Yeah. Zach Henderson, thoughts on Bryce? I mean, I just know what everybody else knows. I mean, it sure sounds like he's going to pick LSU. I mean, but then again, who knows with recruiting and, what high school guys are going to do. Clayton Knight, go Tigers. Did we bring Raymond back yet? Yeah, I don't know. I'm sitting here waiting for the announcement like everybody else. But, I mean, it's one of those things that it's weird because like literally everybody I talk to is like, oh, that was done. Isn't that done? I think it's done. I think so. I don't know what they're waiting on. JD Stevens, what's going on? Clayton Knight, Scooter Rushing, they're flying by the seat of their pants on the NIL stuff. I think Scooter, they are sort of building the bridge as they cross it. LSU had, the original collective was called Go Enterprises. Russell Mosley was the one primarily running that. Whenever they sort of transitioned from Go Enterprises, they shut that down and launched Bayou Traditions. They hired Brent Cunningham away from TCU. Brent was here for about 6 weeks, and they fired him, or he left, or however that went down. Nobody's ever really talked about that, but very clearly, organizationally, expectation, fundraising, all was not what it was expected to be. You haven't replaced him. You don't market Bayou Traditions. And the other thing too that I think they're still waiting on clarity is, can the athletic department assume the collective? Like, can the collective operate under TAF or under the athletic department? Like, there's still a lot of ambiguity with that based on what the NCAA allows and what federal law allows. Like, a lot of collectives were set up as 501c3 nonprofits. Well, that was shot down to where, the IRS said, no, you cannot operate as 501c3s. So some universities disbanded their collective because of that. And, there's just a lot of unknown. Lars Corville, Scott Woodward has lost his mind. Kim Sylvester, in order to inject a little perspective here, $300,000 is 4 times more than what the average American family makes in a year. I get it, Kim. I mean, I understand, and I'm not telling you what a coach should make, what someone with tons of money should pay and donate, and what I'm not here to judge anybody for what they make or what they spend. I'm sure as hell not a fan of the redistribution of wealth. Like, if I'm a free market capitalist, man, if you can make it, someone's willing to pay you, go get it. So if someone wants to pay a football coach $1.5 million to coach defensive line, okay. If Blake Baker can make 2.5 at LSU or 2.2 at Missouri, and that's a negligible difference in his world, okay. Who am I to judge that? Gotlet's here to take down our lights. They did a great job, man. Gotlet light installers. House looked good this year, man. Looked awesome. Gotlet did it. Shout out to Gotlet. They did a great job, man. Y'all heard us talk about them on Whiskey and Wine, but they did a fantastic job. Seamless. Came, set up all our lights. They're coming to take them down right now. So, house looked beautiful. Clayton Knight, Zach Henderson, go Tigers. If Bio Traditions advertised like Gordon, we would be okay. I don't think many people understand how much Gordon spends in Gordon spends more annually in advertising than Bio Traditions raises. I mean, uh, um, go Tigers. Gordon should promote Bio Traditions. I will tell you, Gordon has offered to help Bio Traditions market, and I think that's something that will happen. Bayou Bengal, Woodward is the best at spending other people's money. But Bayou Bengal, yes, but you have to be good enough and trustworthy enough to get people to be willing to write those checks, and he's very good at that. Trivia Carter, Gymnastics won last night. That they did. Chad, Woodward's hires have 2 national titles. I'd say he knows how to spend. There's always strikes and gutters, man. There's always hits and misses. But yes, he hit on Mulkey clearly. He hit on Jay clearly, and I think he hit on Brian Kelly. I think this was the type of hire LSU needed. Who's been an established Power 5 head coach, the adult in the room. I think the first couple of years it took Brian Kelly to realize the benefit of the state of Louisiana and how to tap into the talent in the state, and that's why Polian's not here, and you elevated Frank, and you're bringing back Corey. And I think, with the benefit of hindsight, someone asked the question earlier. It was a good question. What do you think Brian Kelly knows now that he wish he knew when he was hired? Retain Corey Raymond, retain Blake Baker. Don't make Brian Polian your recruiting coordinator. Let's see, what time is Bryce Underwood committing? 4. Some said 4:30. There you go, 4:30. I thought it was 4:30. Yeah. Will Burns move to linebacker next year? I don't think so, Jerome. But he is more of a box safety. Like, he's not. Major Burns doesn't have great. He's physical at the point of attack, and he'll come in and hit you. So, I mean, I almost look at him more as the role like Greg Brooks played in 2022, is that sort of that nickel safety type role in the box. Larry, I wish I was as happy as Drew is. He's just in there watching videos, man. Dalton Pichon, I don't think LSU advertised their collective enough. I just now heard about it. A big part of that, Dalton, too, is Taft doesn't allow. I'm saying it's very territorial. Like, I've made suggestions, like, why not, have like a text line or a QR code or something like that where fans could very easily just go tap, tap, and give, just like you would on a phone. Like when you subscribe to an app or something, tap, tap, you're subscribed to an app, and it, debits you $10 a month or whatever. Or credits, I guess. But Taft won't allow it. Because it's so territorial. It's like if Taft has to raise a certain amount of money annually, right? And the collective is coming saying, all right, well, can we do this to raise money? Well, other fundraising arms are going, wait a minute, now you're tapping into my donors. You're calling on my people. And even though you're all kind of, you're all trying to achieve the same end, you all have different objectives as well. Anyway. Von Bluesman, Jacques Doucet's video of Wingo was his JD5 Heisman Trophy media moment of the year. Jacques wasn't doing nothing, man. Jacques was just getting B-roll on the field. He just happened to catch that. Palermo, what's going on? Bayou Traditions needs to be run for everyone, not just for whatever the minimum donation is. Set it up like Ole Miss. Anyone wants to write a check, take it. You get to say 1,000. Who write $100? Yeah, no, look. but are people willing to give? And, and there's a company called it's called Ascend Media, maybe. That's it, Ascend. I think that's it. Yeah, Ascend Media. This is a company that helps design strategy for building engagement, like Auburn and Ole Miss and Oklahoma. A lot of them have used Ascend, and LSU is trying to contract with them right now to help.
Videos on that would be.
Do you want to come say good morning to Dad's show?
And
And then videos on Daddy's show. Come see.
Oh,
You were king, weren't you?
how many?
Well, yeah, not long. We're just gonna say good morning.
Hi. Just say
Can we say good morning?
good morning, Dad. Joe.
Okay. Wait, what day is today?
Saturday.
Good job. Huh? Saturday? What are we going to do after your backpack and after Dad's show? Then we need to cut your nails. Then what are we going to do?
Daddy's work.
We're going to go for a ride in Daddy's new car to Daddy's work?
And then.
Yeah. What are we going to do there?
And then.
You'll ride the elevator. And then what?
Thousand.
Ride around and pass by Baton Rouge General. Why do you mumble when you come over here? I
Sunday.
love you. Sunday? What are we going to do on Sunday? Oh, after what?
Saints game.
After the Saints game. And what do we say when the Saints are playing?
Who that?
Who dat? Let me put some chapstick. Well, your lips are all chapped.
Who?
Who do you see out there? It's got lit. Got lit light installers. You got some.
What's her name?
His name is Steve.
Gary!
Okay. All right. We'll see you later. Later, bud.
Now, Bill.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, you wanted videos. Sorry. My bad. Hang on. I'll be right back.
What?
You got it. I don't know what you just said. No idea what you just said. Okay. As always, shout out to Brock, y'all. Hudco Roofing. Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic. Hudco Roofing, HudcoRoofing.com. Do business with someone you know. All right, let's see. Mark Popoulos, Raed, Abdel Majid, good morning, y'all. Gary Atchison, is Judkins committed anywhere? Not yet. Steve Menard, Glenn Formo, Marcus Robinson, good morning. Is there a chance Lance Hurd comes back? Nah, man. Typically the way that that those types of situations are working is if a player wants more in NIL, he'll have a agent, business manager, something like that, go seek out a better deal. And if he gets the better deal, then he goes into the portal. It's not go into the portal and then seek out the deal. So the fact that Hurd's in the portal tells you he's got the deal he wants. Do you see Eli Holstein going to LSU? All I know is Eli did not consider LSU at all when he was coming out of Zachary going to when he went to Bama. Like, that was never even a consideration. So the fact that LSU took AJ Swan, I doubt very seriously that they're looking for another quarterback. I think they got their quarterback. Robert Wall, more Matt. A lot of people are saying Brian Kelly already fired Baker, but they need to keep in mind he was the last one to be told he wasn't returning. Oh, you mean back in 2020? Yeah. I mean, that's a fact. He didn't retain him. He didn't retain Baker or Corey Raymond, or we talked about Austin Thomas a bit earlier today. I think it's been an education for Brian the last 2 years, and they've still managed to win 10 games despite feeling their way through it. Lars Corville Woodward has 0 national titles in football. 2019 doesn't count because Oliva hired Ogeron. Okay, Mike Hardy, all should we be concerned or excited with how young the potential starting offensive skill positions are? Quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end. So I don't think you're really young. I mean, Nuss is a fourth-year player. Your offensive line is going to be loaded and veteran. Your wide receivers, I mean, Kyron Lacey, Chris Hilton, both four-year guys. Aaron Anderson's going to be in his third year. You're bringing in Xavion Thomas, who's also a veteran. Running back, Josh Williams, 6-year player. Caleb will be a sophomore. Trey Holly will be a sophomore. Durham will be a young guy. You might add another one. We'll see. And then tight end, Mason Smith's a junior. Will be a true junior. So I don't think you're that young. Joe Boone, I think Mason Smith was poorly coached. Will he return to be coached again to a better form? I think Mason's really torn because I think in his mind, he's always been a 3-year and then to the league guy, but it hadn't gone as he thought, He missed his entire second year, and then this year he was just not productive. And so a guy that before the season was getting first-round draft, accolades and projections, isn't anymore. I mean, you're talking about it at best a day 2 guy right now. So if you're Mason, do you come back, you try to improve to make yourself a first-rounder? And if you do, then you just make yourself tens of millions of dollars. Or do you go to the NFL and you just start working toward a second contract? I think that's what he's weighing right now. The fact that Matt House is not coming back, see who the defensive line coach is, I think that's important for Mason. Guy Brooks, more Matt, Red Bo Davis is going to stay at Texas. Guess the price tag is too expensive. It wasn't money. LSU was willing, I was told last night LSU was willing to make Bo Davis the highest paid position coach in the country. He's making $1 million at Texas. LSU was offering him $1.5 million, and he turned it down, apparently. Which is why one of the things that I mentioned earlier is I had several people mention to me one of the things that was appealing to Bo Davis was his son Bo is a defensive lineman at Southeastern, and that maybe he was hoping for the opportunity to coach his son at LSU. I don't know if that was the deal breaker. I don't know if that was a condition. I'm just saying I had enough people mention to me that, which isn't plucked from the air, right? I mean, that came as part of the conversation. But, if you're making $1 million, your alma mater offers you $1.5 million, and, his mentor, Pete Jenkins, I know Pete was pushing for it, and, I mean, Bo's a Pete guy. He's been at LSU before. He's an alum. Turn it down. Something else happened there, which makes me think it was probably, maybe it was they couldn't get a son here, so I don't know. Do you think LSU has a chance at Quinshawn Judkins? No. I'm told Quinshawn wants more than $1 million in NIL for 2024, and LSU is not going to pay Quinshawn Judkins or any player $1 million. The biggest dollar NIL deal I've heard so far for an LSU player is $500,000. So just for perspective, I'll use a round number. Let's say LSU spent $5 million on this roster. NIL. Let's say LSU spent $5 million in NIL for this current roster. If you were to commit, $1 million plus to Judkins, you really going to commit 20% of your entire budget to one player, a running back? I don't think so. Any chance Brian Kelly calls plays next year? No. DeMarcus Scott having the number 1 running back, wide receiver, quarterback for 25 would be insane. I agree. Zach Henderson, do you think LSU is... Oh, sorry, I read that one. Have you thought about ranking of SEC quarterbacks yet? I have, Chris. I saw Peter Burns put that out there. The quarterbacks, I think he put out like the rankings of the SEC teams as well next year. There's just still so much evolution that's got to happen, man. I haven't. No, I haven't. Christian, do you think the holdup on announcing Corey is because they're trying to decide if he's going to coach DB solo, if they're going to bring in a safeties coach? Christian, I think that's part of it. I was also told yesterday that the DC might have, like, that Corey was done, but unless the DC had veto power, I can't imagine a scenario where Blake Baker doesn't want Corey Raymond back. But like I always say, and I know I repeat myself with this, and so I'm not trying to be repetitive, but I'm saying it because it's important to say. It's like over 17 football seasons, I've seen so many coaching searches. It's just never done until it is. Like ink dry on paper. And too many people, it's one of the things that is, there's no benefit to me talking about it, because me talking about it, I'm just trying to give you up-to-date information, but people take morsels and make assumptions. And like, that's why I throw the caveat all the time. So as to make sure you all understand, even still there's misunderstanding. Like the Bo Davis stuff. I've been so clear about Bo Davis all along. LSU was absolutely pursuing Bo Davis. He was interested. They were engaged in conversations. I've talked to you about the numbers contract. But I've always said, like, I said that every time we've talked about Bo Davis over the last week, I've said, but I feel like I've heard the Bo Davis thing forever. We hear the Bo Davis thing every year, and it's never happened, so I'll believe it when I see it. You heard me say that 100 times. But yet there's still going to be people going, what happened with Bo Davis? I freaking told you. They try this every year with Bo Davis, and they've never been able to get it done. So I'll believe it when I see it. So the same thing with Corey. Like, well, yeah, I think it gets done as an opinion, because it sure seems like it's done. It never is till it is, man. Let's see. Palermo Woodward did pay what was needed to get Joe Brady away from the Saints. Hired him as co-OC passing game coordinator. That wasn't much. Brady wasn't making nothing with the Saints. We need Pat P to help with the DB since he's retired. Just because you're a great player doesn't mean you're going to be a great coach. I don't know. Maybe Pat would be. I don't even know if he wants to do that. DeMarcus, 12-team playoff next season, going to be interesting for sure. Bob Florich, biggest problem to me is they don't market enough. I found the donor link by accident. That's true. I mean, you're talking about bio traditions. Go Tiger said I'm only donating if I'm getting a tax deduction. That is a big part of it too. Go Tigers. There are, and I've had this conversation with enough people that run collectives to know there's really like 3 tiers of donors. You have this sort of younger tier of donor that is only going to give if they get a tax write-off. You have this sort of middle tier of donors that can find a way, if it's a marketing expense or something, you can find a way to write it off as an expense. And then you have, some older donors that just aren't going to give to players no matter what. But I don't know how old you are, Go Tigers, but I mean, I've been explicitly told that there's a segment of a donor base that unless if they get a write-off as a 501c3, they're not, I mean, even if it's $100, they're not giving. So, you're not alone in that respect. Should have brought back Coach O to coach the defense. That's not going to happen. Oh, man. Sorry, I'm scrolling back. I lost my place in the comments. I'm scrolling back now. Wow. Oh, man. Mike said, in hindsight, which hire was better, Brian Kelly or Lincoln? Both have had a Heisman winner. Kelly's won more games in a tougher conference. Christopher Fry, Louisiana 3-star or random 5-star from out of state. Depends on the position and who it is. But if you give me a Louisiana 3-star or a 3-star from Las Vegas, give me the 3-star from Louisiana. Catherine Davis, you people who don't want to donate 10 or 20 a month to buy traditions like other universities are doing, they need to stop complaining when LSU doesn't get certain players because they were outbid. Catherine, I don't disagree with you, but I'm also never going to be someone that ever tells people how they should spend their money, where they should spend their money. I'm never going to be the guy that criticizes fans for not buying tickets and going to games or showing up late and leaving early. I don't want anybody telling me to do with what to do with my free time and with my money. My time, my disposable income, I'll do what I want. I've got literally thousands of dollars worth of whiskey over here. I mean, would everybody spend that much money on whiskey? No, but I don't care. I got a great collection. I love it. I love to have a little nightcap most nights. And I have some of the best whiskey in the world. So I love it. I don't buy tickets to games. I don't hunt or fish. I don't have a hunting camp. I don't have a boat. I don't have a four-wheeler. I don't have rods and reels and guns and ammo and, hunting leases. And I don't have any of that stuff. I don't spend thousands on season tickets or whatever a lot of people do that they spend their disposable income on. I don't. I like sneakers and whiskey. So, yeah, I do have Clayton. I do have a pool. Yeah, Clayton is why I spend a lot of time at home. We decided to spend, Erica and I decided to spend a lot of money making our backyard beautiful. It's like we spend a ton of time here. We can't do everything with Drew. It's hard to do a lot of things because physically what he is and isn't able to do. So a lot of times, so that's why we built a big, beautiful outdoor kitchen. The pool was here when we bought the house, but we redid the whole thing. I mean, we made our outdoor space, like we invested a lot in it because we use it a ton. So, to each their own. If you want to give to Bayou Traditions, do it. You don't. I don't care. But I'm just here giving you information, man. Like, and what LSU's objective is. LSU's objective is they really need to mobilize and engage with the $10 to $20 a month donor because that's what places like Ole Miss have done exceptionally well. Benjamin Watts. Wait, Corey Ramey coming back as official? No, it's not official yet. I just can't believe it hadn't been announced. Like, I'm just waiting. Like, why isn't this announced yet? But then again, last night, I can't believe it took forever to announce Blake Baker. Sorry, I'm just trying to get some comments I haven't talked about yet. If you would, please take a quick second, smash the like button. It's awesome. We're still over 1,000 concurrents on YouTube, which is great. Thank you so much. Happy to hang out for as long as y'all want to. And as always, shout out to Brock and Hudco. You need an orthopedist, go to Brock. You need a roof, give us a shout at Hudco. Brock's after-hours clinic, of course, is open nights and weekends as an alternative to the ER and Hudco. Commercial or residential roof repairs, roof replacements, we'd love to help you out. I tell you every day, do business with someone you know. Hudco Roofing and HudcoRoofing.com. Hudco's pinned in the chat. Barry, I paid $1,200 for bowl ticks for the family. I'd have happily added 10 to 20 more per ticket if I knew it would go to NIL. I've mentioned that before, Barry, about putting a tax on every ticket sold, $1 or $2 tax on every ticket. But you're going to get into the issue of if you do that, then everybody's sitting there with their hand out. TAP's going, why won't that money go to us? The athletic department say, why can't if you're going to raise ticket prices, you're going to do it to be able to spend more within the athletic department. So That's always the issue that comes up when you talk about something like that. Alex Barnes, who do we contact to start donating? Go to the Bayou Traditions website. I mean, I'll post it. It's like Bayou Traditions Collective, I think is what it is. I think it's BayouTraditionsCollective.com. Here it is, BayouTraditionsCollective.com. I'll post it. And it's called, right on the homepage, there's one-time contribution, and there's join the Natty Club. The Natty Club is $20 a month, minimum, $45 a month maximum. And then you get perks with it. There's a $50 a month club. There's a $100 a month club. So for $20 a month, you get Bayou Traditions perks networks, 100 entries into a monthly giveaway, and a $20 voucher to the store or a swag bag. I mean, I'll post it. It's $20 a month. Here it is. Copy. Here, I'm posting it. Go crazy, folks. Go crazy. Join the Natty Club if you want. And full disclosure, I am not joining the Natty Club. It is a complete and total, even though I'm an LSU alum, it is a complete and total conflict of interest for me as a media member that covers this team to give money to the football program. I have not, will not. I give money to LSU's Manship School. I'll disclose that. I do give money to LSU, to the Manship School of Mass Communication where I graduated, but I do not give money to LSU's football program. I gave up my tickets, and I do not donate to TAF or the collective or anything. Palermo, first thing you need for collective is have a CEO who knows what the heck he's doing. Like, they do need, I mean, I will tell you candidly, I know the people that are running it are doing so, putting in a lot of hours, but it's not their full-time thing, and they're not even getting paid to do it. So, yes. I mean, that's what they had hired Brent Cunningham for, and that lasted about 6 weeks, and they haven't replaced him since. But a big part of the holdup is waiting to see how it's going to be structured, like if LSU is going to be able to assume the collective or it has to operate separate. But yes, I completely agree, Palermo. Like, there has to be someone who is running that thing every day, marketing it, promoting it, organizing it. Yes, that is, and they're well aware of that too. But that's why I've told you, like, why LSU has fallen behind is because of that. I mean, you're coming up on 2.5 years of NIL, and LSU still doesn't have its organization, its structure. That's what Ole Miss has done exceptionally well. Ole Miss doesn't have the most money, but they are very, very organized and structured in the way they're operating. Grove Collective, whatever they call it. Barry, love that kid. It's a good day. New defensive coordinator and Drew. Thank you. I appreciate y'all for always being nice about Drew, man. Phil Smith, any update on how Greg Brooks is doing? You know, man, I haven't gotten an update on Greg in a little while. I need to ask. I'm glad you brought that up. I will. I'll find out. Palermo, Coach Mulkey running the collective would be run like a Fortune 500 level efficiency. But here's the other thing, is that you do have all the coaches kind of individually fundraising for their own program. Like, you know, Jay Johnson is out there pounding the streets to raise money for baseball. Jay Clark's out there pounding the street for gymnastics. Kim Mulkey's pounding the streets for women's basketball. Instead of like just all the money going in the collective and then being divvied up as necessary, you have these coaches fundraising specifically for their team. So then you have even more people who are knocking on the door of the same people. Brian Jones, Matt just getting out. Do you think we get Bryce? When is he announcing? Yeah, I mean, I do, because I look at the crystal balls like everybody else does, and the recruiting prediction machine or whatever. I mean, I don't know Bryce Underwood. I've never talked to him. I never talked to his family. I just talked to all the recruiting people, and they all seem to think he's going to pick LSU. So yeah, I mean, unless we see something different. Gulf South, fact Lance hasn't committed somewhere already. Surprising. Saturday Night South reported he's still visiting different schools this weekend. Cool, good for him. But what it tells you is he's getting the money he wants, just a matter of where he's going to go. Does Mackay consider a return since we have a new DC? Brian, I will tell you that that LSU is making a push to try to get Mackay Wingo to change his mind. They have offered him a significant NIL package to return, and And obviously you have a new DC. So, who came from Missouri. So, I don't know. I have no idea if Mekhi Wingo is going to return. I have no idea whatsoever. What I do know that LSU, with the new DC and with an NIL opportunity in hand, are trying to convince him to return. But again, I have no idea if he will. None. Zero. I have no idea what he's thinking. Scott Shirley, do we know why Braden Swinson was in street close for the bowl game? I don't. Braden was practicing. Braden practiced, and we got to see the Thursday before Christmas. So shoot, man, that was just 10 days before the game. I don't know. And I obviously didn't go to Tampa. Let's see, John Marston, Matt, thoughts on 2025 recruiting class and elite SEC teams. I've just seen what LSU's doing. Edward Frank, NIL was and is for student athletes to go make money off their name, image, and likeness, not for schools and boosters to throw money at them to get them to come to your school. I agree with you, Edward, and in theory, that's great. That's not what's happening. So if you're not doing that, then you're falling behind. Jerome, Marvin Sosa. They should let Perkins rush the passer. He's the next Micah Parsons. I disagree on the Parsons comp. Parsons is 6'3", 260. He's a much bigger and different player than Harold Perkins. A better comp for Perkins is Hassan Reddick, not Parsons. Lars, isn't the school paying you, making money off your name? In theory, yes, but pay for plays. I think there has to be a deliverable. So, but the deliverables are ridiculous. It's like sign some footballs or make an appearance and meet some fans. It's whatever. Craig, which player got $500K? I don't want to say. I don't want to be the one that says that. If someone wants to disclose it, they can. I'm not going to. But I'll tell you, there's no LSU player getting $1 million. And LSU collectively spent about $5 million on the roster this year. Year one, if you remember year one, everybody got the same. Remember when the whole team went to the food bank and did that appearance? That was their deliverable, and everybody on the team got the same thing year one. This year, under Brian Kelly, this year, they sort of divvied it up based on role importance. So Will Campbell and Jaden Daniels obviously got more than Jaylen Brown did, for example. And so it was divvied that way. And they'll continue to refine that. Jaden Daniels did not get $1 million. Actually, I will tell you this. Jaden Daniels got $150K this year. That was his NIL number in 2020. When he was going to go pro, and they convinced him to stay for 2023, Jaden got $150. That's what Jaden got this year at LSU. So anybody who think now Jaden also did a national deal with Powerade and a lot of other stuff. Remember, he did the Bose headphones deal. So I'm sure he made much, much more. But from LSU's collective, Jaden got $150. Harold Perkins, $500K playing twice. I think you would be stunned, because I was. I think you would be stunned to learn how little NIL money has motivated Harold Perkins. I was stunned when I had a very candid conversation about it. But Harold is not a guy, at least not to this point, that has been all about money, which surprised me because I remember, and y'all know I don't follow recruiting every day and all that stuff, but I remember when Harold he flipped from A&M to LSU and all that stuff. I remember almost every interview Harold did, he talked about NIL when he was being recruited. And that stood out to me because NIL was still new. He was a 5-star and all that stuff. But some of the stories I've heard, he don't even cash his checks. I think you would be stunned to know how I was very surprised how not big of a deal that has been for Harold. All right, Shane Danos, what's the hold up with hiring an OC? Move fast on Baker. It's been a few weeks since Denbrock left. Yeah, I don't think that they were. Goes back to show you, they were not planning on hiring a new DC. And when you made the staff changes you did before you could fill out the rest of your defensive staff, you had to have a DC in place to know if your DC was going to be okay with whatever staff changes you were going to make, and then also how you're going to organize your coaching staff. And I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do at OC. It has been very quiet there. Sam Darcy, morning, Matt. What do you think about the hire? Sam, I like it, man. Blake was good here. The result, he's been a DC in the SEC now for a couple of years at Missouri, and the results they had at Missouri are undeniable. And I love that Eli Drinkwitz went out and thanked Blake Baker publicly for the time at Missouri. I love the interaction from Missouri players defending Blake Baker. I mean, Ennis Rakestraw is one that there was a Missouri fan that was cursing out and dogging out Blake Baker, and Rakestraw went into this guy's Twitter mentions and was like, no, man, he's a real one. I love that. Players love him. Like, it's something you didn't have here before. So yeah, I like it a lot. And I know people are gonna say, what about the money? It ain't my money, so I don't care. Somebody's willing to write the check, okay. Uncle Who Dat, case in point, Lane Kiffin agreed to be Tennessee head coach, reneged, became the USC coach. Well, he was the Tennessee coach for a year and then left after a year. He didn't renege. He was at Tennessee. He coached there for a year and then left after 1 year. Cortland, NIL is not from the schools. It's paid by business people to the players, the company, to use players' NIL to promote the business. Yes, but collectives are organized, which is essentially pay for play. But they cover it with deliverables like signing autographs and appearances and stuff. But it's what it is. Let's see. The one that got away. What's real impressive is the white and black, the white label and black label Wellers in your background. You need to do a show on your collection of whiskey. Yeah, so that's Weller 12 and Weller CYPB. The orange Weller, the Weller single barrel. The orange and the white, the single barrel and the CYPB are probably the rarest. And that's not even my top shelf, dog. Pierce Lee, why in the world isn't Bo's son of Texas with him? Yeah, he's a 6'1", 270-pound defensive tackle in the FCS. Like, just candidly, he's not a good enough player to play at the major college football level. But I also don't blame a father for wanting to coach his son. Technically Sound just heard about this. So is Blake Baker still coaching for the national championship game with Michigan? Blake Baker doesn't coach at Michigan. Blake Baker is coming from Missouri. Corey Patterson, Trey Scott from Georgia should be the next defensive line coach. I haven't heard that name. But then again, I don't know what direction they're going. I'm very surprised that they didn't retain Jimmy Lindsey in some capacity. It was very highly thought of when they got him here from South Carolina. He never got a chance to coach the team. I mean, he had his medical episode, I think it was like August the 3rd or something. That was like right before, like the day or two before fall camp started. Hey, bud. What?
Jam.
What happened to your jammies?
Button your jam.
Oh, button your jammies. Okay, come see. You got your jammies unbuttoned? You mean button your top button?
Yeah.
There you go. Okay.
Whoa.
Okay, we'll button your jammies.
Okay?
Okay. We'll see you later. This guy's on fire. Judy's on fire. Okay. I think we might almost be done, y'all. Matt, did Blake recruit any of the current defensive players, or was he already gone? What up, Chaz Clark? Good morning. Blake got here in 20. God, so many of those guys are gone, man. And the 21 class. I mean, Mason was in the class of 21. I mean, all the juniors this year were there. And here's the class of 21. Mason Smith, Sage Ryan. Dellinger. Xavion Jones. So many of these guys have left. Greg Penn. Yeah, that's all the guys that are left from that class. I mean, listen to these names. This is the class of 21. Damian Ramos, Tavion Falk, Mason Smith, Sage Ryan, Chris Hilton, Deion Smith, Brian Thomas, Armani Goodwin, Demarius McGee, Garrett Dellinger, Derek Davis, Landon Jackson, Savion Jones, Malik Neighbors, Nussmeyer, Bryce Langston, Matthew Langlois, Xavier Carter, Greg Penn, Corey Kiner, Jack Besh, Kimo Macaneoli, Bug Strong, Jalen Shedd, Peyton Todd. Okay. You beeping? Well, Daddy's gonna finish Dad's show, and then after Dad's show, we'll get dressed and we'll go for a ride in Daddy's new car to where?
Nice.
Yep, we'll go to Daddy's work. Good job. And after Daddy's work, we'll ride around and pass by Benner's General. Maybe we'll go to the car wash. You wanna go to Benny's car wash with Daddy? Then we'll come to Drew's house, wear your backpack, and watch some football. Oh, then we'll play. And what do you want to do? What do you want to do? Tell me. Go play?
iPad.
You can watch the iPad? Sure you can.
What color is iPad?
What color is the iPad?
Blue.
Blue. The iPad is blue. Good job. Right. Alcohol is the answer to LSU's NIL problems. Oh, man. Golly, man. These comments are just flying through. There's no way I can answer every question. I mean, I answer one, and it's Gulf South. You heard the story T-Bob told about Kiffin stealing Edo from LSU to bring him to Tennessee years ago. No, because that was the year that Ed was with the Saints, right? So Ed was with the Saints in 08 for 1 year. Right, 08, and then LSU was going to hire him, and then he went and spent the 09 season. Is that right? 9 with Kiffin in at Tennessee? No, you said the 9 season at Tennessee, right? And then after one season went back to USC, and then Ed went with Lane to USC, and then became the interim there, and then was out of football in 14. Then Les hired him in 15. Oh yeah, we might be just about done here. We've been going for almost 2 hours now. Victor asked, what's the story with Diggs heading for the portal? Probably an opportunity for him to keep his options open. Logan did have a pretty serious knee injury in the bowl game. Probably saw the video of him walking out with a brace on his knee. So most people know what that means. And so maybe it's one of those things where you put your name in the portal so you have your options open. Because remember, you can't go in the portal after the portal window is closed. So the portal window is open, so his name's in there so he can decide what he wants to do after that. And then, we'll also see, what that means for him. Does he go pro? Does he somewhere else? We'll see. Right. Appreciate everybody for being here, man. Long show. Still churning along. There's 1,000 people watching live. Tommy Primo, William Jackson, what's going on? Caleb Brignac, what's up? Appreciate everybody for being here. See if I can just get any more. Let's see, T-Bob said, Edo called Bobby Hebert, told him he was the new defensive line coach at LSU. Bobby asked if he could go public. Edo said yes. So Kiffin flew a helicopter to Destin that night and offered more money. That sounds like Lane. Lane will do that stuff, man. It's weird how there's sort of like, we talk all the time about like the honor among thieves. I mean, I will tell you that Lane Kiffin himself, you know, it's funny, like, remember how the Billy Lucci comments a few weeks ago about LSU tampering? Like, he was like, I don't like LSU, they tamper and all. And I said, look, it's like an honor amongst thieves. Like, everybody does it. You know, if you point the finger at somebody, you got fingers pointing right back at you. Lane Kiffin personally called a player on the LSU football team to try to get him a transfer to Ole Miss. A player that's not in the portal. But Lane Kiffin personally called a player on the LSU football team to offer him to go to Ole Miss. And I ain't ratting on nobody. I'm not, again, it's honor amongst thieves. Like, everybody does it. But it's hilarious, though, when you have, like, a head coach. So Kiffin pulled a Will Wade. I was waiting on it to come out. I knew somebody was going to do it. Like, usually you have somebody else do your dirty work. But, let's see, KT Scone, you do a wonderful job with your son. God bless. Thank you, man. Best job in the world. It's really the only thing in my life that matters. That really, really matters, right, for me and Erica, is being parents to Drew. So all this, I mean, this is work. It's fun. You know, get to talk football and sports, and that's great and all. But, you know, Pierce Lee said, if you add an NIL tax to booze sales in Tiger Stadium, we balloon to the top of the list. That's true. And you might be serious, might be a little tongue in cheek, but again, all of that revenue goes to funding the athletic department, which is why it's complicated. Gunnar Michaels, morning Scone. Which old fits do you have? I have the 17 to 19. Jeez, 17 to 19 are old. Mine is an 8-year-old fits. I actually did a flight of old fits one time. It was like an 8, a 9, I think an 11, and a 13, and the 9 was the best. I thought the 9 was the sweet spot of all of them, of all the ones I had. All right, y'all. Matt, name those critters contest. Be the first to correctly name all the critters on Drew's PJs. Win a Go Tigers sticker autographed by Drew. That's funny. All right, y'all. I think we're done. Thanks for watching. I'm going to get out of here. It's been almost 2 hours. Really sincerely appreciate y'all for hanging out this morning. Do me a favor, YouTube, on your way out. We've had like over 1,000 people watching all morning. We only got 400 likes. I'd really appreciate if you just take a quick second and hit the little thumbs up, hit the like button. I'd appreciate it. And if you're new, please subscribe to the channel. Facebook, please like the Matt Moscona page, share the post. Most importantly, though, shout out to Brock and Hudco. You know, if you need an orthopedist, Brock's the best. Locations all over Greater Baton Rouge. And, of course, Hudco Roofing. I got Hudco pinned in the chat. Tons of rain yesterday. If you got a roof issue, commercial, residential, we service the entire state of Louisiana. Hudco Roofing, HudcoRoofing.com. Do business with someone you know. Hudco Roofing, HudcoRoofing.com. Okay. Thanks, Donald Amy. You too, man. Have a good one. Okay, y'all, be great. Barry wants the Hudco jingle. You know what, Barry, this will cause everybody to run away in a hurry, but you know what? Ask and you shall receive.
Hudco Roofing, Hudco Roofing. When you need a roof, call someone you know. Scone and Terrio.
All you need is Hudco.
Hudco Roofing. Call Hudco Roofing.
364
1007. Hudco Roofing. Hudco Roofing.
There's your dismount. All right, y'all have a great day. Peace.